welcome to umbraCoffee, live from Umbraco Spark. And this is a little bit unusual because we don't have Marcin with us today, but we do have a very suitable replacement, Marc-e-Marcin.
Oh! I've been told not to do the accent, and I guess Marc is the closest to Marcin you could find. It was literally
match made in heaven.
Based on names alone.
Unfortunately,
it's going to be permanent, isn't it? If this works our way,
it's
sure permanent. So Marcin's had his time, hasn't he? Should have come to Bristol, mate.
Oh no, he's probably watching this.
He probably is. Yeah. He probably is. Look how professionally I do it.
Anyway, fantastic. Thank you for joining, Marc, especially at short notice. I appreciate it. And just before we went live, Marc was feeding me news about stuff that's actually been going on in the community that I wasn't aware of. So maybe you are doing a better job than Marcin already.
Well, I'm not, let other people decide that. It's not for me to say.
All right. Well, a few people are saying in the chat that the audio isn't good, but I think that will get sorted. Anyway, it's okay. We've got someone monitoring it, and they'll adjust the levels if necessary, but thanks for joining us. Anyway, we're going to invite some guests on, and we're going to have a chat to people who've been doing talks already, some people from the community, some people who've attended maybe Umbraco Spark or an Umbraco event for the first time as well. Let's bring on our first guests. I think we've got Philip and Jacob from Umbraco HQ. Let's give them a round of applause. Hello. Hello. Nice to have you here. It's been a while since we've seen you, Philip.
Yeah, good to be back.
Yeah.
Nice to be with the community again, and of course, umbraCoffee is always a pleasure.
Yeah, always. Thank you for joining. And Jacob, is this your first time on umbraCoffee?
My first time.
Oh, yeah. I heard that you wanted a mug.
That's all he's been talking about.
I have some heartbreaking news for you. We don't have any mugs, but we will make sure we get you on for Code Garden because we need to do another order. I think all the ones that exist have cracks in them. So
it's only because I got the coaster already.
You have the coaster?
I have the coaster.
How did you get a coaster?
You gave it to me.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough. Well, we kicked off the day. Jacob and Lasse did a talk about the new back office. So what's going on with that? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge project, that's for sure. We are several thousand hours of development work. We started last year, and we are well ahead, on track, so to say. Yeah,
fantastic.
And yeah, as you saw at our presentation, I think it was the first time we showed it to a live audience. So it works. I mean, you can sort of get the feel of how it looks like. And I heard some comments yesterday at the hackathon that people thought it looked the same as the current back office.
Yeah,
and I mean that's the idea. And we want. If people launch V13 and they can't see a difference, we know we'll have succeeded.
That's awesome. And you did a demo where you showed calling some data from an API, one of your services that you've got, and it worked first time.
Yeah, I mean,
much to yours and everyone else's relief, I guess.
Thanks to the demo gods.
Fantastic. And are we allowed to talk about this? I have a habit of saying things on umbraCoffee that I'm not supposed to say, but there was a hint of a date of when we might have V13 or the new back office in our hands, so package devs could start working with it. Is that allowed to be spoken about? Okay. It was around Code Garden, June-ish time.
Yeah, so end of June for package developers, extension developers, really try and get their hands on the whole thing. But I mean, even now you can spin up the V13 branch with the new back office and see for yourself.
A few of us have been doing that and have noticed how rapidly it's changing, and things that worked a week or two ago have completely changed now, but it's great to see it.
So don't depend on it.
No,
it's just cement.
Yeah, it's not definitely. That's awesome, and we're going to be hearing more about the new stuff coming in new Umbraco because we have Elitza doing a talk in an hour or so. Philip, what's going on there? This is V12 related, new headless API. So
new headless API.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I think, all of those who are here in person, you should absolutely go see Elitza's talk. I'm sure the other one is great as well. I don't know. I'm sorry to. Elitza's talk is great. Headless APIs for umbraco, I think that will be a game changer for many of us. I know that a lot of us who come from agencies or work with umbraco, like we built our own kind of headless stuff on top of umbraco, right? And the cool thing is that now there will be an official way there's a way that will work with your packages and that everybody will align on, and I think that will be really great. And of course, I mean, it's really good for us that we can align that with hardcore, so that if you want to switch from one to the other or vice versa, you can. I think that'll be pretty.
Yeah, I had some. Again, I might be misspeaking here, but I had some great chats with Lasse and Bjarke after a demo recently, where I said it would be so awesome if we could use those same Node or .NET SDKs to work with the new headless API as we could with hardcore. So that becomes a natural upgrade if you want a bit more, or you can work in the very same way.
Yeah.
Very powerful.
It starts to bring that idea that a website isn't just headless or not headless.
Yeah.
The most
You have that hybrid
bit of everything, and that's going to be a really big step forward. I think so. It's very exciting. I meant to say things are exciting. I watched the program before.
Yes.
I'm very excited.
Speaking of exciting things, I made a deal with Mike that we would talk about the UK cloud region. So Philip, can you tell us about the new UK cloud region? That's exciting.
There's a new UK cloud region.
I'm very excited about it.
Yes, I mean it's cool. It's finally here. We now have an architecture where it's a lot easier for us to add more regions as there's a demand. And UK was probably the market where the demand was biggest. So that's the first one we added after the US one. And I mean that's how you get your region. So everybody out there watching, if you want a region where you live, tell Mike and just bug him until he's really annoyed, and then we can have a region there as well.
It's a big thing for public sector.
Yeah, exactly.
And UK sites, a lot of the data stored for the public websites aren't allowed to be stored outside of the UK. So it's kind of ruled out using cloud for some of the council website services that we work with. So it is good from that perspective.
It is really good. I mean, of course, with the old or with the main region that we had before in Amsterdam, that took care of it for all of EU. But I mean, with data, that's not really EU is not enough anymore, right?
EU,
I'm not going to comment on that, but it's nice that we have a UK one as well now, and I mean, of course, it's the same kind of situation for all our US-based customers that having control over where the data lives and have it be close to the end users, of course, always is a benefit.
The thing I've said a few times on umbraCoffee about why that cloud region is so valuable is it's the same cost as the EU region. And if you know Azure in the UK, it's 30% more expensive, and is only going to increase another 11% in a few weeks' time because they're putting the conversion rate up or something.
Don't talk about this when Mike is here, right? No, that's just going to change them.
It's definitely valuable if you want to host a site on Azure.
Yeah, I think one of the USPs of cloud that we don't talk about too much is that you actually know what it's going to cost. Like, because when you are on Azure yourself and you're dealing with blob storage and you're paying for traffic and all, like, it's very hard to know what your bill will be. But in cloud, you know what it is upfront, and you can put it in your budget. I think that's a USP that we don't talk about too much.
That's a very fair point. Well, maybe we should bring on some next guests. It's been lovely talking to you, but we have a lot to get through.
You're busy here, yeah.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. And let's give them a round of applause. Okay, Marc, is this your first Umbraco Spark?
It is my first Umbraco Spark.
Have you pretended to attend an Umbraco Spark before?
I've not even pretended to attend one, no. So this is the real thing.
That's incredible. Marc, of course, if you didn't know, has a habit of pretending to attend events.
It's not so much of a habit; it's more an art project.
I think it's very
on many levels.
Yeah. So you'll release a blog post where you have a picture of yourself on stage at an event that you were not even in the same country as.
Yeah, I've been known to do that kind of thing, and it's quite embarrassing when people get fooled by it. And I remember pretending Code Garden a while back, and I was getting messages saying, "I know you're here because I've seen your tweets. Could we meet up for a chat? It'd be lovely to see you." I feel really bad that I'm deceiving these really nice people. I had a message saying, "I'm not really here, but if you want to play along and pretend I'm here as well, that would be really helpful. Send me some photographs and I'll Photoshop myself in." So it kind of got a bit out of control. But then led to when Code Garden was cancelled, it meant that I could write a blog post to explain how to pretend with real experience. So we all pretended to go to Code Garden when it was cancelled, which was good. Well, on the airfares, anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Better for the environment. It's your first Umbraco Spark, and we've got a couple of guests coming on now. One who's attended many times before, and one it's their first time as well. So let's invite Ravi and Kate up onto the stage. Give them a round of applause. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Ravi, do you need an introduction?
No.
No.
People don't know me, meet me later.
Yes. Ravi and Kate, lovely to meet you.
Hello.
I met you for the first time yesterday, I think. So tell us a bit about yourself, so for those that don't know.
Yeah, so I'm Kate. I'm the account manager for Umbraco at a big digital agency called Half. A bit about myself. I love Umbraco. I'm from Newcastle. And this is my first Umbraco Spark, so it's very nice to meet everyone.
First Umbraco event.
Umbraco event, yes, ever. So it's nice to meet everyone, put names to faces.
So be nice.
Yes, please be nice. I came a bit early, but...
I can do an Newcastle accent if that...
Where are I? Don't know.
The community is definitely very friendly, and hopefully you got first-hand experience of that yesterday when we had the pre-party at Par something. There was 59. There was golf and there was drinks and other socialising. How was that? The first baptism of fire to the community.
It was lovely. It was nice to meet everyone. Too many drinks, I'd say. Don't feel too fresh today, but it was lovely. Yeah, it was good. I didn't actually play any golf, but
Fair enough. How are you feeling? Have you heard you were last man standing?
Yes and no. I think there was standing after me, but I went to bed. I went to bed late enough that I felt it this morning.
Fair enough. How was your talk then?
I think it went okay. No one left the room.
That's the bar.
It's the bar. No one fell asleep. I finished about 5 minutes early. I did 3 or 4 run-throughs. They all ran to about 35 minutes. This one, I did it in 20. Go adrenaline.
Well, that's awesome. And other talks you've seen today, any highlights?
Well, I had a particularly good moment during Marc's and Jevon's talk where I got an entire slide. I wasn't even part, didn't know about. I got 2 slides and I've got a t-shirt.
Yes.
Is it a bit weird that I'm wearing something that is a meme of me?
Stand up, Ravi. We've got to see this t-shirt.
So there was a thing in the talk about how my talks always end up with generating hashtags and catchphrases, and I got some speaker feedback from Code Garden saying how my talk was nothing new, but just a lot of wannabe hashtags and catchphrases, which is generally true if you've seen one of my talks. That's completely fine to make that observation, but they called them obscure catchphrases, so we decided that if anything seemed like it was going to be a catchphrase in the talk, we would identify it clearly as we went along. But the project we were talking about had a really old code base that had been ravaged by time, but really had been ravished because way back in history, Ravi had worked on the project, and there were genuine comments in the code saying, "This is Ravi's code. What's going on?" So that's why we had to make a t-shirt.
Yes,
to say sorry, Ravi.
I think it is true. A lot of the time, those were my own comments because I could genuinely say that there were times when going through that code base, it was like, this logically shouldn't work, but it does.
We've all been there.
I'm going to leave a comment here so that people can understand that it shouldn't work, but it does.
Well, that's fantastic. Kate, any highlights from you? Which talks have you enjoyed today?
I really liked your talk.
Thank you.
Some of it went over my head, I won't lie to you, but it was very funny and informative.
Good. I only wanted to make people laugh so that it would annoy Lee in this room.
Fantastic. Well, thank you both again, and
Thank
hope you
you.
enjoy the rest of the day.
Sure we will.
Let's give him a round of applause. Now, Marc, it seems to be that you're getting a lot of love for your talk, but I unfortunately missed it. So, when will you learn? You've given a nice summary, to be fair, but the talk I did watch at the same time was from Lee Kelleher and Luke Hook. Luke and Emma are about to come on the stage and join us, so we can probably ask them about what that's all about.
Some of the stuff that they've done on that project is amazing. Lee has shown me, because I was very disappointed to miss Lee's talk, and he showed me some of the work that he's done on the site, and it's absolutely amazing. He's a wizard, I think. But anyway, let's talk to them.
Yeah, let's bring Emma and Luke on. Give them a round of applause. Emma, you've not seen you in a very long time, Emma.
I know.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah,
Good.
came back off maternity leave on Halloween last year,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, just said, me and my employer at Vauxhall Knowledge were really good, and said, do you want to go gently? And I kind of said, actually, I kind of want to just go straight back in.
Yeah, and you're back doing a talk
Yeah,
today.
I am. So yeah.
Fantastic. And Luke, lovely to have you. We've not had your umbraCoffee before.
No, first time.
First time. Excellent. But you're
no mugs, but
no, you're getting mugs at this point. I'm sorry.
disappointed here. There's no mugs. Yeah, no judgment.
Yeah. As we said, your talk was up against Marc, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you and Lee showed.
Yeah, so our talk was titled Playmaker Dances with Walls. And it ultimately came about, we work with multiple sports clients at our agency, Jive Digital. And like with many sites from the same sector, there's so many like consistencies. They're basically the same website. So we had an idea to productize that, to make that more affordable and more appealing to prospective clients with smaller budgets. So the talk was our journey on that and how we went about building and productizing an umbraco solution.
As there are any football club web teams watching Marc-e-Marcin today, you do need to check out this Jive solution.
Yeah,
on the off chance.
It did look very cool, and sort of the whole plug-in oriented architecture is something that really resonates with me. It's something I've been kind of preaching for a long time. So that's awesome.
But also you have the thing where you can put matches in for the clubs against each other, and the contentment wizardry where you actually get the club badges versus that. Anyone who's collected Panini football stickers, it's a massive thrill to see.
It's like a sticker album in Umbraco.
It is. Yeah, big shout out to Lee on that one. I think we got Lee on board to really help us revolutionise that kind of editing experience, and he's done a fantastic job, I think. So.
Yeah, looks awesome.
But you say it's a product, so
yes,
it's
that's right. Yeah,
just a one-off site.
And the other side of this, it was kind of, the talk was maybe in two halves. There was an element that was about the productization of this platform, and there was the content migration, how you're moving people from existing Umbraco sites that are maybe less than ideal to the Playmaker platform using Migrate.
Yeah. So I think obviously one of the biggest challenges with any Umbraco website migration and upgrade is the content. And Wolves had something like 40,000 content nodes, and definitely more than that in terms of media. So finding something to do that was difficult. And we shout out to Stuart Mullinger. His package Converge was a really good starting point for us, but we probably hit the limits of it. So Lee reached out to Kevin Jump. And worked really hard with him, I think, to kind of evolve. Kevin, I think, had already made a start, on using migrations, but so we ended up using that, which was fantastic, which ultimately transformed the V7 using files to V8 plus, which it did, again, 40,000 content nodes in about 20 seconds, which is incredible. And then you're just using usync, which is tried and tested. We know it's performant on big loads, and it did a fantastic job.
But the really cool thing you did was that it enables you to do is that you think about migration as being a one-off. We did an export and an import, but because you can write rules to help you transform the content files from the V7 to the V10, you can, as people are creating new content on the old site, take the content files that I've created, drop it in, run the migration, and whilst you're doing the migration and implementing it, your content is synced. So your V7 old content is synced with the version you're about to release. So there's no kind of like, let's repeat all the steps to do the upgrade and do the big bang. You can do it in process, and that's a really amazing thing.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, really, really useful. Especially when you're migrating a live site, you can't just go content freeze for hours and we'll migrate everything, but we prevent that by being able to do incremental updates. So.
This all sounds super interesting, but Marc, how could I learn more about this?
Well, it's quite interesting. Obviously, Kev has created this. Part of it is probably just out of a technical flexing of his muscles. Bloody Kevin Jump is a genius. So he's not like trying to monetize or create a product, but he recognizes that he has built products which are battle hardened, that do the start bit, that does the export, and does the import bit, and it's just really the bit in the middle. So like what he's really given to us is this framework in order to do this, and you can, when you've got an old property data type that it doesn't know about, you can write a migrator for it and contribute it back. It's completely open source. So I've done a couple of my packages to put in there. So if anyone's moving editor notes around, it supports that. So it's really cool in that respect. But the start of it, unless you know using it really well, there is a little bit of a curve to just get your head around how it's working. And as soon as that penny's dropped, when I've shown other developers how to do it, as soon as that penny's dropped, they've been away with it, transforming the XML from one format to another. It's straightforward, and there's lots of examples in the code base. But what there isn't is documentation. What there isn't is is kind of like a product that you buy that enables you to do this. It's very much, let's all work together and run with this. But what he suggested that he do is there's some interest in doing is perhaps putting a webinar together that people could sign up for if there's interest. We can put the URL on the end of the episode. And if there's enough interest to that, then we'll both put together some kind of webinar to just get the concept over and to get you started with an example. If people be interested in that, then
especially with the amount of V7 and beyond upgrades happening right now, and there's 90% of our workload at the moment, I think that would be infinitely valuable for people. So
I mean, in my talk, we migrated in a more fragmented way a site, which I won't go into now because I'll talk about it for ages. But we did get to that. We moved to move blog content, and we used Usync Migrate, and in like 3 minutes, it had migrated the content across. It was just the beta was released a week after we had to migrate the content, so we couldn't use it. But we did try to use it afterwards, and it did the job. We're using our another site, and we're going from old grid to new grid, and it's worked really well. So he's a genius.
He is. We'll definitely put a link in the chat. And just quickly before we wrap up, Emma, during COVID, you were posting a lot of like generated AI imagery and art on Twitter.
I got really into doing that.
Yeah, and your talk today is about generative AI.
That's right. Yeah, it's about me doing that as kind of a hobby thing. Starting to think about it in terms of how we could use AI in Umbraco content management systems, and then my thought process as I started using it about where this had come from, what was creating these images that I was then using, especially when I'd just gone from using them for fun to maybe potentially using it as a product. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be talking about later. Obviously, it's a huge topic and changes so quickly.
Yes,
even as I'm talking, there's probably something out there.
GPT-4, I saw a rumour yesterday that's out next week, and that will revolutionise the whole chat GPT scenarios all over again.
Totally, and
the end is right for developers, isn't it?
Well, I mean, have you used GitHub Copilot? But there's so many things to think about in that arena in terms of like where the code came from, who agreed to it, not,
problematic.
And what's being generated. So I think it's moving so fast for an industry that isn't potentially that regulated yet. And I'm very risk averse, going back to Laura's talk earlier about compassion. And for me, it's kind of scary working with AI when I don't know necessarily if there's an audit trail for where the data came from.
There's been a lot of cases where people have created very biased AIs based on the training data they give them.
Yeah, exactly.
Not really realise that this thing that they think is intelligent is just a kind of personification of their data.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, what time's your talk?
So 15:50.
15:50. Fantastic. Anyone here, make sure you don't miss that. Let's say a big thank you to our guests. And I would also just like to say a massive thank you to the Umbraco Spark team, not only for hosting this event, but for allowing us to do umbraCoffee again for the third time from Spark. And thank you to all of you for watching. Hopefully you enjoy the afternoon's talks. And thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
See ya. I'll see you next week.